I do it right? Did you hear the bell ring? Did I not do it well? Hey, yeah, hey. Yes, so yeah, that's been a long time ago. So I don't know that I could do that without pulling something. So welcome to the July 14th meeting of the Rotary Club of Brentwood. My name is Drew Rogers, and I am the president of this club. This is my first meeting as president of the club. Thank you, Jane. I'm very excited to be here and grateful for all of you for being here as well. We have a wonderful program that is brought to you by Burt Bradford today, and I'm going to ask Hunter McCarty to come forward and deliver the invocation, and then Alan Treadway for the pledge and four-way test.
Please pray with me. We ask that you guide and direct our club, its leaders, and our actions as we begin a new Rotary year. Grant that each of us may feel our responsibility to Rotary, to our community, to our country, and indeed to all countries and peoples. Comfort and relieve your sick servants, especially Jeff Brown, Susie Lindsay, James Davis, Jared Tanksley, Gene Harmon, Leon Partain, and Walt Lever, and give your power of healing to those who minister to their needs, that those for whom our prayers are offered may be strengthened and have confidence in your loving care. Bless our fellowship today, and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and us to your service. Amen.
And now, if you'll join me with doing the pledge to the flag. I public things. And for the four-way test, first, second, third, fourth.
We certainly hope so.
Oh, thank you for that, Lennis. Before I go to Jennifer Bourne, our secretary, to introduce guests and visitors, there were a couple of things that I failed to mention when I started, and my apologies. I'll get better at this as the year goes along. You might have heard Hunter mention Jeff Brown and Walt Lever in his invocation. So for those of you that know Walt Lever, a former member of our club, he's a very prominent pastor in our community. He had very serious surgery earlier this week, but my understanding is that the surgery went well. But I know that his family would appreciate you keeping him in your prayers. And as we have updates, I know Mike Barrett is in touch with Walt's family, and we'll keep you updated on that. Jeff Brown also has been in Vanderbilt Hospital. He suffered a stroke, and it was serious. But I've been speaking with Donna Wood, his wife, and he's been admitted into a step down facility. So he is improving, and I've spoken with Jeff, and he actually sounds really good considering the circumstances. Rod, did you have something that you wanted to add? He went home yesterday. Okay. So that's a great update. So Jeff has gone home, but please continue to keep Jeff and Walt Lever in your prayers. I know that their family would appreciate it. With that, Jennifer Bourne, our new secretary, would you introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians?
Yes, we've got some guests and some visiting Rotarians. Beth, would you like to introduce her first?
Sure. This is Colleen Atwood, and she is a proposed member. So welcome, Colleen.
Colleen, do you want to- Yes, thank you for inviting me, and I hope to be help to your club. Yeah. All right, we're gonna come over here. Zach, he's got a guest as well.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have my guest, John Randball. He's a phenomenal guy, amazing musician. So you might catch him on Broadway and sometimes on Thursdays. We met through a real estate investors of Nashville group. We met probably over a year and a half ago. Just phenomenal guy. And now since he's made work optional, He's got some time on his hands, and we were meeting on Monday, and I was like, you have to learn what Rotary was. So I gave him the pitch about how awesome this group is, and just not only this group, but internationally. And if you really want to make an impact and have, just tug on your heartstrings, it's a great group. And he's like, well, tell me more. And well, now he's here today. So hopefully he'll consider joining, but happy to have you, John.
Yeah. Next door.
I have the pleasure of having a gentleman here that I met just recently who comes to us from Peoria, Illinois, where he went to Bradley University and worked for Caterpillar, but has one more piece of his background that I'm going to let him talk. Okay.
I was with Caterpillar for 37 years and retired 12 years ago. A fantastic company. Please bring up the stock a little bit. But Caterpillar took me around the world. I was director of operations in China. For 20 years. And, it's been a marvelous time. Moved here because my daughter, her husband, and two children moved to Franklin, and we spend about 4 months a year here. The rest of the time is either traveling or in our hometown in Deep Springs, Florida. And it's a pleasure to meet y'all. Yeah.
Well, welcome, guys. We're excited to have you. And Colleen, we're excited as a proposed member.
And for those of you that are bankers in the room, you might have heard of John Radeball before. John has been an executive recruiter in the banking space for a long time. So he may have placed one of you guys in our job. We have a lot of bankers in the room, John. So chances are that you've spoken to many of us prior to now. So you're in good company. I'm going to invite Larry Kane up to the podium to make an announcement, and I suspect you guys may know what it is about. 3 minutes is what he said he needed.
Thank you there, Tiger Man. Golf tournament wise, we're doing okay. You will see in just a second. Here is our chart that we started out with all of our available sponsorships. And you will notice there are only 2 left, Premium Hole and Hazard. We have 3 Premium Holes and 1 Hazard sponsor left. I think I sold today. I didn't sell. I think somebody in the room here told me they were going to buy a Hazard sponsor. So that'll be one of those. So once we sell those 4 sponsors right there, we're sold out of our major sponsors. So that's a good deal. We need to do that. I was a banker, by the way. Hole sponsors are down here are unlimited. That means we can sell all we want to sell, right? We have 59, don't clap yet. We have 59 hole sponsors outstanding from last year that you sold. So that means 59 people, some of them are multiples, need to call those people and say, hey, I need you to get a hole sponsor for me again this year. Pretty easy call, right? You're not begging them. You're saying the same thing we did last year. 59, that's $22,000 in sponsorships outstanding. So please, you've got one of those, and you should know because your team captain has that list and they were supposed to be sent out this past week. Please make that call and get those sponsors. And that's huge. That's what's going to make us or break us as far as going over what we wanted to do for this year. Now, to help you a little bit with that, I've got a little announcement to make. We're going to have a sales incentive campaign for the next 58 days till our tournament. And that incentive is this. Any member who sells 3 new sponsorships, and obviously it'd be whole sponsors, 3 new sponsorships, $100 gift card to any restaurant you want. Okay. And now this is a $100 gift card. It's open to any member. So if we have 6 people do it, well, 6 people will be winners. It has to be a new sponsor. It can't be a renewal from prior years. And again, that's open to everybody. So hopefully that'll give you a little incentive to get out there and sell those 3 sponsors, new sponsors. We need that. That's what's going to make us go. Everything else, the tournament's in good shape. Keep in mind, you sat here a month ago and watched us give out $30,000 in grants to people. You sat here about 6 weeks ago and watched us give out $30,000 in scholarships to seniors. Okay. And you don't even see what Tom's group is doing in the background, giving out funds every day, internationally and otherwise. That money comes from the golf permit. Kind of like banking again. The number one thing we look for on loans and banking was the source of repayment. Where's your cash flow going to come from? Same thing with our foundation. Tom's got to have that cash flow to do the things he does. So help us out, get those sponsorships in that we don't have. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. $29,000 in outstanding sponsorships from last year. I just want to make sure that I say that one more time because that's compelling and it should be pretty easy. So make sure that you reach out to those sponsors that that may have supported us in the past. Before we introduce our speaker, I'm going to invite Michael Heineman to do Happy Bucks. Michael?
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful time to be happy. It's a new Rotary year. Life is wonderful and sometimes it's even better. So I suggest that somebody step up and be happy. I will kick this off. I put in money for two things. One, the last 2.5 years, we've had renovations going on at the house. The last 6 months, we've had renovations going on at the office. We're done. I'm not in dust anymore. That costs more. Could we play that video again? In the meeting.
That's, yeah. All right, we'll play it again.
Somewhat related, I'm happy because our president's dad and I graduated from high school together. So I remember when our president was born. Wait a minute. That makes me like real old, doesn't it? I'm sorry, but we're glad to have you, Drew. Good man. Thank you.
Anybody else surprised that he graduated from high school?
I am very happy because my good friend Tom Carr told me he's going to Florence, Italy for 2 weeks. And he is Florence, Italy. And there is a big statue of a guy named David there, and he's going to do an anatomical comparison of him and David to see.
Okay, all right.
Anybody have less information?
Hook. You might have just shut down Happy Bucks, Dick.
I got a couple dollars in there. I just want to, so happy to be back. It's been, a month of Sundays since I've been here. And just how great of this group is for Drew to reach out to me and just saying, hey man, how you been? Haven't seen you in a while. Jared Tanksley reached out and just said, hey, just missed you at the meeting. So that's really refreshing and really cool. Made me feel really special. The second thing I want to say is not so much happy. It's a little solemn, but I do think the message needs to be said. Last Saturday, I saw this new movie out and you may have heard of it. And if you haven't, I really recommend that you figure this out. It's called The Sound of Freedom. And you know some people about it. And if you don't know about it, it's about a true story by the gentleman named Tim Ballard. And he has Operation Underground Railroad. And his whole mission is to save and to stop child sex trafficking, which is a $150 billion a year industry. That is just unfathomable, right? Like every NFL team, every sports team in the country combined with all the major things still once a year. It's a very intense movie. If you're a parent, you're going to be disgusted. If you're not, if you're any human being at all, you're going to be so mad. If you have a faith, you're going to just want to pray to the Lord. But this message needs to be seen because there's so many kids out there that are just getting abducted and taken. And you think it's just in these crazy countries. America is one of the most consumer of child sex trafficking. So these kids get abducted in different countries and they come in here. And the problem is that's a lot of people that you probably don't want to know who's actually buying these kids, right? But with a voice and message, I think we can get this word out and it does need to be exposed. So definitely not the message I want to share today, but it's something that I definitely recommend you watch and just pray before you go and definitely pray after. So
Thank you. Important message. Anybody happy over here?
I'll add for what Rob in there since he was chief It's good to be back. I was on a 5,000-mile trip on my motorhome. Sorry I wasn't at the installation banquet, but good trip. What we don't realize is that there's so many places in this country that are just gorgeous, unbelievably gorgeous. And it's good to be president-elect, and I hope to learn from you, Drew.
You're on the clock. It's good to see your upper lip again, Steve. It's been a while.
All right, we've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly. Anything else? That's it. You.
Wonderful. Michael, thank you. And thank you to all of you. With that, I will ask Burt Bradford to come to the podium and introduce our speaker, Stuart Tutler.
Good afternoon, everybody. Every day in this country, 1,900 children become victims of abuse or neglect, and 4 of them will die. Every day, CASA, or court-appointed special advocates for children, is a network of nearly 1,000 community-based programs that recruit, train, and support citizen volunteers to advocate for the best interest of abused and neglected children who have no one to speak in their favor. These volunteer advocates, empowered directly by the court, offer judges the critical information they need to ensure that each child's rights and needs are being attended to while in foster care. Today, the executive director of CASA is Stuart Tutler. Stuart's career spans across multiple industries, including information technology, healthcare, education, insurance, and real estate. He has worked for companies like Prudential, BPS Healthcare, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, FICOR, Vanderbilt Healthcare, and New Hope Academy. He's an alumnus of Penn State University, where he earned his bachelor's degree in management information systems and technology. Stuart's a very involved guy in the community and currently sits on several nonprofit boards. So if you will, welcome Stuart Tutler, please.
Thank you, Bert. And thank each and every one of you guys for having me here. I'm excited to be back because I was here last month and a recipient of your generosity. And so I really appreciate that. And Drew, I'm not going to try to steal any of your thunder because you look good up there, but I was a Penn State mascot, and so we got to talk. I got involved with CASA about 11 years ago. I sat on the board. It was one of those deals where my arm was twisted to sit on the board. I had no idea what CASA stood for, no idea what it did, but I joined the board anyway. I quickly learned what CASA did and fell in love with it. And today I'm sitting in as the executive director and will continue to do as much work as I can to help these kids out. Give you a little history. In 1977, in Seattle, Washington, there was a judge named David Sukup, and he was taking on cases for kids that felt that he did not have enough information. I'm gonna lift this up a little bit. He did not have enough information to make a sound decision about the kids, and he didn't know what to do. And in his words, he said, as a judge, I had to make tough decisions. I had to decide whether to take a child from the only home he's ever known or leave him somewhere where he might possibly be abused. I needed someone who could tell me what was best for the child from the child's viewpoint. That's what CASA does. So it started in 1977 and began to spread throughout. In 1990, Congress actually started the Victims of Child Abuse Act, which began helping to fund some of the programs throughout the nation. CASA is currently in 49 of 50 states, including the District of Columbia. The only state it's not in is North Dakota, and I have no idea why. It's too cold. It might be. But CASA, there are more than 70,000 volunteers throughout our nation that works with about nearly 1,000 programs throughout our country. And because of CASA, more than 2 million children have found their way to a safe home. Now, Tennessee got started in 1988, and they got started to help the local programs here. It's called the Tennessee CASA Association. And today there's 32 CASA programs throughout all of Tennessee that covers 60 of our counties. So there's 35 counties currently without a CASA program. There are over 8,000 children that are currently in state custody due to abuse or neglect. What's even more overwhelming, there's 20,000 kids that are being monitored today through DCS that might wind up entering the program with those other 8,000 kids. Williamson County CASA, and that's a CASA we work for, was established in 1993. If you guys might know her by the Honorable Jane Crockett Franks. She helped our community overcome the misconception that child abuse and neglect does not happen in affluent communities. Franks educated and involved the community in the need for CASA, and CASA was born in 1993 in Williamson County. I currently have a staff of 6, including myself. We have our Director of Development here, Courtney Watson, but we also have an office manager and then 3 advocate supervisors. Those 3 advocate supervisors help to manage 75 volunteers that the court system will assign to a child. Believe it or not, and I've worked for or sat on the board on many nonprofits. CASA is one that actually has a waiting list for volunteers. And I got excited when I heard that, because that shows that our community is ready to get involved with these kids. Now, the way the program works, typically it starts with a petition. Something's happening with a child, whether it's abuse, neglect, it could be physical, it could be sexual, but something's going on in that child's life. Typically, in most of our cases, come through DCS, but anyone can put up a petition. So for example, and this is hypothetical, grandma could see something going on with her grandson or granddaughter and not appreciate what or how the daughter or son is raising her grandkids. She can actually put a petition into the courts, and the judge would then assign a CASA advocate to that case. So once a petition is made, whether through DCS or a private petition, and I describe DCS this way. DCS is kind of like the emergency EMS trauma kind of organization, where they'll get a call at midnight from a situation with a child, and they will go and rescue that child in that moment. Once that child enters the court system, the judge then assigns a CASA representative to that child, so that they are responsible to look out for the best interest of the child, and that's their only job. They will visit with the parents, they will visit with their doctors, teachers, they even talk to the child themselves to find out what is the best interest or in the best interest for the child. And a lot of times we see a lot of cases where the parents are strung out on drugs, and the CASA rep has to gather enough information so that the judge can make a sound decision as to where to place that child in what we call a safe home. I'm proud to say that Williamson County CASA has a 100% rate of placing children into a safe home, and that's a good thing, but that doesn't always happen. One of the things that people tend to ask me is, when I stepped in as executive director is like, what is your vision for CASA? And the thing I like to say is, if you think of it this way, I would love for one day there not to be a need for CASA. And I describe it this way: if you can imagine a rushing river and kids are in this river and the river's flowing down, and at the end of that river, there's a waterfall that can lead to their death or destruction. Organizations, some like CASA, some others, tend to sit on the edge of that waterfall and begin to rescue kids as they fall over, but some fall through the cracks. The hope is that we can go upriver and figure out why they're jumping in the first place, or why they're being placed in that river in the first place, so that we can then eliminate the need for the intervention later. I've seen you guys invest in that intervention. I watched you last month as a community give away so that these organizations can help kids and help others. And some of those organizations we get to partner with and collaborate with. So it was really special for me to see your heart, your generosity in your giving, because it shows me that we have a caring community that wants to get involved. And I know I'm supposed to use this somehow, some way, and I just forgot. No, I just forgot to put it on. That's all. That should have been behind me the whole time so you guys could weep up when you see those kids' face. But several years ago, I got the opportunity to travel to Kenya and visit Maasai tribe. And in the Maasai tribe was considered the most fiercest and the most intelligent warriors in all of Africa. And one of the greetings that the Maasai tribe has is called Kasirian Ingira, Kasirian Ingira. And as a matter of fact, you guys say that with me, Kasirian Ingira. And that's the way they would greet each other in their community. And what that means is, as they walk up to you, they would say, "Are the children well?" Their society, the strength of their society is based on the well-being of their kids. And when someone responded, even if they didn't have kids, because they consider all the kids in their community their kids, they would respond, "The kids are well." If we can't respond, "The kids are well," we have a problem. And right now, today, we can't respond, "The kids are well." But I would love for us to take that on, that's the way we greet each other, is asking, how are the kids? The kids aren't well when you have millions of them going through sex trafficking. The kids aren't well when you have parents abusing them or parents neglecting them. The kids aren't well. We need to change that for our society. We need to make a difference in that way. I got to see you guys make a difference, and thank you for giving to CASA, because that does make a difference for every single child. I'll close with this. And I know I'm a little quicker than I told you I was going to be, but I'll close with this. There's a young man named Kid President. And if you haven't seen him, I recommend you Google him, because he is funny as I don't know what. But he acts like he's the president or he's a leader in charge, and he has a lot to say about our community, our society. But the one thing that caught my attention is he said, "If you make the world better for kids, you make it better for everyone." And I believe that. I absolutely believe that should be our focus, is making this world better for our kids before we even think about ourselves. I want to thank you guys again for having me here. I really enjoy talking about CASA, and I have some brochures if anybody wants to take one. If you're interested, there's ways to get involved. Unfortunately, CASA is not one of those organizations that we can take you around. Like when I used to work for a school, I can show you the classrooms, you can participate with the kids. CASA is one of those programs where I can't do that. You can come to court, but I can't even tell you that child is part of our program because of confidentiality. And I can't even tell you the details of that trial. You'll have to listen for yourself. But in our office is quiet. You can come walk through our office, but I can't show you the impact of what these volunteers are doing. But please, if you want to know more, don't hesitate to contact me. Or if you're interested in getting involved, please reach out because we do have a need in our community and throughout Tennessee. So thank you guys again for having me and good to see you again. Drew just asked, well, answer any questions. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the safe homes or safe houses that you call. Is that do they have multiple children in those homes? Is that a foster care type thing or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll clarify what I meant by safe home is we try to make sure that they're placed with a relative first and foremost. If they can't be placed with a relative in a safe home, then we look for foster care homes for them to be placed in. Now, there are such things as safe houses for kids to go to. I can't remember the one from Christ Community. What was that called? Church of City, yeah. The Village House, yes.
Place where instead of these kids sleeping in the DCS floor like you see on the news lately, big problem. They take them to safe homes where they can actually sleep in a bedroom. Now, there's words in the bedroom and the only privacy in the bathroom just to make sure that they're okay. So they're security there to make sure that they aren't fighting that break out.
As you've heard on the news, I'm sure. But they are reopening them. I just saw a report that the news put out yesterday about DCS. That they're opening up these safe homes for these kids. I mean, they were sleeping on the DCS floor. It was bad news bears. So it's just going to be a better alternative for these kids. So they have some normalcy while they're waiting for placement in foster care.
Any other questions? That's a great question. So the victims of, oh, you want to do it? Oh, yeah, good.
We have very diverse funding, which is good. We don't put all of our eggs in one basket. We do get government grants, like Victims of Crime Act grants. We get some state money. We get money from the United Way. We get lots of foundation support, corporate support, individual donations. We have one main fundraiser a year. We are planning one in the fall, but our biggest fundraiser, which is where we raise the bulk of our money through sponsorships and attendance, is our Voices for Children event in April. It's going to be on April 25th at the barn at Sycamore Farms next year. So that's our largest.
So half our funding
event.
comes from government funding and then the rest we have to raise.
Volunteers, what kind of vetting process do you have?
Well, that's a great question. So our advocate supervisors, first of all, will interview any of the volunteers. We, of course, do background checks and things like that. And then there's 33 hours of training that the volunteers will have to go through. Beyond that, each year they have to do 12 hours of additional continuing education for that. But we welcome anyone who's interested, but we'll do all the vetting up front for them.
So just to follow on with that, I'm involved in Boy Scouts, and so we have what they call a youth protection program for training. And I was curious if I'm sure you probably have something similar to that. You have 2-person rules and things like that. But do you offer any of that training to other institutions that have contact with children that may not have a program like that? Or have you thought about that?
And that's great. We haven't thought of that. We only offer the training to our advocate volunteers. And that training actually comes from National CASA. There's a National CASA, there's Tennessee CASA, and then each individual programs. So we get our training directly from National CASA that sets the guidelines for all the CASA programs throughout the United States. But we do not currently offer any external training to others for that.
Thank you for the important advocacy work you guys do. Does your organization ever involve itself in anything like a guardian ad litem with certain DCS involved cases?
Yes, very much so. In fact, a lot of programs throughout the country are tied to guardian ad litem. We just happen not to be. But you'll see CASA / GAL next to their names. Now, we do work closely with DCS attorneys in all of our cases for every single child.
Super. I've got a question and then a comment. The question is, what is your annual budget? Can you share that with
Oh,
me?
yeah, absolutely. The annual budget for 23-24 is 563,000 and change.
And those funds are derived from what you shared earlier, I guess. And the other comment, go ahead.
Victims of crime, grants that we did go to pay our frontline services staff salaries. So then we supplement with other grants, other communities with foundations in the Nashville area. And then, of course, the road as well. I mean, we rely on community partners for the program.
The other comment is, I want to thank you for coming. My grandchildren refer to Mr. Tuttle often there at New Hope Academy, and it was fondly, they finally referred to you. So I want to tell you thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, again, thank you guys for your time, and I really appreciate you.
And Stuart, before you go, we do have a gift to present to you. We offer all of our guest speakers a pen for coming, and it's got our club name on it, and it says that you are a guest speaker, and it's a memento of you joining us this afternoon and sharing your message with us. But what we ask you to do is to take that pen and to sign this book, which is a book that we read to first graders in the community that talk about the ideals of Rotary and the four-way test. And when we do that here in the Brentwood community, we talk about your time and your visit with us and what you shared with us. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah, no doubt. I would like to give Mr. Tutler one more round of applause, but I'd first like to say that for those of you that are guests or relatively new Rotarians or Rotarians to come, and I count all of us in the room in those categories. This is an amazing story of what we do as part of the Rotary Club. You've heard Larry talk about raising funds through the golf tournament, which goes into the Brentwood Rotary Club Charitable Foundation, which is our local foundation. And then each year we give that money away to local nonprofits within our community that are doing amazing things. An example of that would be Williamson County CASA. And the total that I believe we gave out last year was in the range of $137,000, was it not? So this is an amazing full circle story. Stuart, thank you for being here to see a recipient of those foundation funds and to hear a deeper explanation of what you do and the good work that you do in our community. So thank you. Before we adjourn, I do want to welcome our guests and Rotarians to be John Radabaugh and Tim Elder. Thank you for being here. Colleen Atwood, thank you for being here. We look forward to your membership in our club. Courtney, thank you for being here as a guest, and good luck in your pursuits as the development coordinator of Williamson County CASA. And a couple of announcements before we adjourn from me, and then I'll ask if there are any from the gallery. Please put away the tables and chairs. We are stacking chairs in groups of 8, I believe, around the tables. We don't move them. Got that right? Okay, perfect. Didn't mess that up. $29,000 of outstanding sponsorships. Remember that. It'll come back in reflections if you read it. And there is a sales incentive campaign that if you get 3 new sponsors, you get a $100 gift card. So I hope that you will take that to heart and that you will support the golf tournament that's coming up. Are there any other announcements from the Peanut Gallery? No? I'm sorry. Oh, no. Are you going to show my? I do have to say, because we do have 10 minutes, and I'm happy to give another program. For those of you that aren't aware or that are just joining us, yes, I did spend some time as a friend of Aubie. If I were to do that right now, I know, having seen it again, that I would hurt myself. So I do not intend to do that, but thank you for the invitation. I'll save it for the Iron Bowl. How about that? We'll do something special, but thank you, Alan. You have the gift of saying the exact wrong thing at the exact right time. So I appreciate that. But it is good to share the podium with a fellow mascot. Thank you, Stuart, for being here. If there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, then we are adjourned.